All right, $100 million leads. If you're wondering, yes, we probably are getting pretty close to ending paid ad section of $100 million leads, which is what we were reading this for, the paid ad section. Yeah, what did we read yesterday? So we were into a new question, I believe. We were into the question of, so the day before we were talking about the 3-to-1 LTGP to CAC ratio. Okay. Anything else? What was after that? So there was another question to answer. If your ads are not profitable, how do you fix them? Okay. Yes. And then the question of if your ads are not profitable, how do you fix them? The answer, or this section entails the concept of client financed acquisition. Client finance acquisition. Well, first of all, let's start with a little story, or an example, thought experiment. There's a company that gets a say they it costs them or they generate, the LTGP per client is say $100. They collect $15 revenue per month, and they cost them $5 to deliver the service or the offer. So they collect $10 gross profit per month, and the average client stays with them 10 months. So the LTGP is $100. Okay. Well, say their CAC is $30. That is their customer acquisition cost. So this company hypothetically has a LTGP to CAC of 3.3. Great, right? Above 3, it should be great. They're making it very profitable. They're good. But they have a cash flow problem because it costs them $30 to acquire a new client, but they only break even at the beginning of month 2. So the day 1, they're still in cash flow negative. They're still down $20. Beginning of month 3, they break even. Beginning of month 1, they're down $20 then. Beginning of month 2, they're down $10, and then 3 months in, they break even, and from that point onward, it's cash flow positive. So they have a cash flow problem, right? They're dumping money in, but then they have to wait 3 months to get break even on it. So how do we fix this? It's client financed acquisition, and this is a concept where the gross profit you collect within the first 30 days of acquiring a new client is greater than the CAC. Okay? So say month 1 you collect $35, and then every month after that you collect $10. Well, now you're breaking even month 1, and you're cash flow positive for the whole time after that, versus the other scenario where you're cash flow negative for the first 2 months. Okay? Anything else I'm missing? What was the question before this one? It was how do you know if you're doing well? They talk about the benchmarks, the 3-to-1 LTGP to CAC. So let's just I think we got everything, but maybe not. The 2 levers, I think we talked about that yesterday. Yeah, I think we got that. Okay. Cool. Right, so the reason he chose 30 days, collect within the first 30 days, is because every business can get free 30-day loan for money via credit card. So you spend the money on advertising with the credit card, then you collect more than you spent. So then by the end of the month, you pay off all the debt, the credit card debt, with no interest, and then you keep the additional revenue, though it'll probably be small. But now you've just acquired clients that have already broken even, and everything after that, all repeating purchases after that, are cash flow positive. Nice. Cool. Okay. So I'm going to continue reading here. So we're going to probably upsell on that day one to break even or start collecting cash from first purchase. So he goes back and forth between first purchase and 30 days, but the idea is pretty similar. All right, I'll be back in a few minutes after I've read with my reflection. There we go, guys. That section is now complete. It really kind of clicked at the end. So what's the solution to non-client financed acquisition? So if you're not breaking even or cash flow positive within the first 30 days, how do you solve that problem? And the way he does it is he says upsells. So he gives an example. He says, what if we offer this, X amount of dollars, say $100 upsell, and only, 1 in 5 clients buy the upsell. Well, now you've just added $20 average gross profit per acquisition to the average lifetime value of the. So you just added an extra $20 in gross profit to the average new customer. And so if you can do that with a successful upsell and you average it out and run the numbers correctly, and you're now breaking even or exceeding, well, now you don't have a cash flow constraint, because you get the credit card, unlimited money, interest free essentially. You spend a bunch of money on ads, okay, and then you collect the same amount that you spent and pay off the credit card. Now your credit card's ready to use again. And now you've just collected a bunch of clients this month. And so now you have these customers that are going to be repeat spending each month or whatever, coming back whenever they pay again. All that stuff is gravy, just coming in. New clients, you built them, and now you've got credit card ready to go again. So it's pretty cool system. And he importantly said, whenever this book was written, he said every company I've scaled in the past X amount of years, 7 years, maybe 10 years now, since he started his second or third business, he's been able to scale every one of his businesses since whenever, past 7 years, to $1 million a month within the first year. And this is exactly how he did it, was with client financed acquisition. So, yeah, pretty cool. It just makes so much sense. At this point, it's like, wow, it's so simple. The difficulty then is I don't think he teaches that much about. Yeah, this is the book on leads, so he doesn't teach so much about great service delivery and customer relationships. Maybe that's more in the offer. If you build your offer so great, the people are going to like you no matter what, because you're in the specific niche solving their specific problems, and you're doing it, one of one. So cool. Yeah, you're getting out of the commodity business. If you're a commodity, then that matters a lot more. But if you're a grand slam offer that's not a commodity, well, customer relationships are automatically just going to be better, and retention is going to be better because you're one of one. Okay, there we go. And now we're in the last section of this chapter, paid ads part 2, and this is the section about Hormozi's lessons that he's learned throughout his years, what he's learned throughout running paid ads. So we've got 3 pages and then the bonus training, and that's all we've got left. So really nearing towards the end here. It's been a great journey. I've learned a ton in the past 2.5 weeks, but it's not done yet. We'll have a couple more days, so let's press on. How much time do I got here? 10 minutes? Here we go. I'll just read the first two, and then we'll come back. And then if I have time to read the third piece or lesson, then I will. Okay? Here we go. I'll talk to you in a few minutes. All right, guys. Wrapping up for today. I got through 2 of his 3 lessons he's learned from paid ads. Number 1 is, his first lesson is, don't confuse a sales problem with an advertising problem, okay? And how do we know when we have a sales problem? How do we know when we have an advertising problem? When do we know sales is failing or advertising is failing? How do we know? Well, you have a sales problem if your advertising is bringing engaged leads that have the problem you solve and have the money to be able to purchase your offer. If you're getting engaged leads that have the problem you solve, that have the money to pay for it, I mean, I guess Hormozy didn't talk about the price, but at a reasonable price, right? Well, then your ads are working. What's a reasonable price? That's going to be case dependent. But are you getting engaged leads that have that have the problem you solve, and have the money to pay for it? If so, you probably have a sales problem, not an advertising problem. How do you know if you have an advertising problem? Well, you're not getting engaged leads, or you're getting leads that don't have the problem you solve, or don't have the money, or don't have the money to pay for your solution. Okay, that was the first piece of lesson that he had. First lesson Hormozy had on paid ads that he's learned. Second, organic content, 9 times out of 10, organic content that has performed well, meaning it's gotten leads or sales organically, 9 times out of 10 those turn into great paid ads. So that's the lesson. And then under that, he kind of said, like, user generated content, UGC. So if you can get clients to record testimonial videos or like using the product, videos about essentially like your product, if you can get them a system that creates those reliably, and you can post those on organic, like your social media platforms, and then you take the ones that perform well and turn those into paid ads, it's a great way to reliably produce more new great ads with very minimal extra input from yourself. All right. Yeah, that's it for today. We're officially maybe a day or 2 away from finishing the paid ad section, and then we'll have a day or 2 or however long the online section will take, the video lesson. But that's it for today. I'll talk to you guys later.